pathetic response to the HSBC tax avoidance scandal and failing to take prompt action against British citizens with secret Swiss bank accounts. During furious questioning in the House of Commons, the head of the HMRC, Lynn Holmes, was asked why there had only been one prosecution out of 1,000 cases, and she faced questioning over a second earlier leak of account details at HSBC's Jersey bank, holding nearly £700 million. HMRC today revealed to Channel 4 News it only expects to recover a fraction, just £20 million. Our economics editor, Paul Mason, has this.
Amid the white-fronted mansions and the SUVs, in London's poshest district lives an eminent banker and former Tory minister who once lectured the world on morals and ethics in banking.
Excuse me, is this where Stephen Green lives? Lord Green, boss of HSBC. Is he in?
Baron Green of Hurstpierpoint earned £20 million in performance bonuses running HSBC, but he's not been answering calls.
Well, Stephen Green is not answering the doorbell, but he does have questions to answer. He was, of course, chairman of the global bank HSBC, but also specifically chairman of their private banking arm in Switzerland, whose operations, it now turns out, were specifically designed to help its customers break the law and evade tax.
Wherever he is, Lord Green stands at the centre of a massive scandal for the establishment. Secret HSBC files were leaked by a whistleblower in 2010. They show nearly 7,000 potentially tax-dodging Swiss accounts were linked to Britain. Today we found out what the British authorities did about it. Under a project called Solace, HMRC identified around 1,100 cases to pursue. 150 were considered for criminal investigation, another 500 were looked at for serious fraud, and the remaining 500 were invited to settle. 130 of all these cases remain open. But as to prosecutions, the formidable institution that collects Britain's tax has managed just one. So when MPs got the chance to quiz the civil servants who run HMRC today, they were tough.
The worst that can happen to you, if HMRC can be bothered to catch up with you, is that you may have to pay, you won't have a prosecution, you won't have any shame, you won't be an example to anybody else, you'll get away with it. And that's a terrible message to get out to British taxpayers. It's a really rotten message. Chris, sorry, I get that off my chest.
That was a statement, not a question, but it's not correct.
Britain's tax collectors explained they needed better evidence and they prefer raising the money by investigation to prosecution, and that Britain's generous tax rules for people who claim not to live here don't help. But there were more revelations today about HSBC in a different tax haven, Jersey. Here, a separate whistleblower blew the lid on 4,388 accounts shielding £700 million from the British tax collectors. So how much of that had been clawed back?
We do think there's only about 20 million is our early estimate of those cases.
About 250,000 Brits were scrutinised by tax inspectors last year. Target groups include plumbers and fitness coaches, but it's the extraordinary Brits who seem to get away with it.
What seems apparent is that when banks break the rules, senior executives aren't being held personally responsible. It's not until those senior executives start to lose their jobs, start to have their bonuses clawed back, get personally fined, or in the most serious cases, face criminal prosecutions and go to jail if proven guilty, that we'll start to see those people who run banks taking the law seriously.
Meanwhile, from Stephen Green, the man picked to sit at the Prime Minister's right hand, still silence.
Well, more names of those allegedly caught up in the scandal were revealed today, including major donors to both parties. Ed Miliband seized on the revelation that a Tory donor and former treasurer held an account with HSBC in Switzerland to turn the allegations into an election issue. In high-octane exchanges at Prime Minister's questions, he accused David Cameron of being a dodgy Prime Minister up to his neck in the scandal. David Cameron said Ed Miliband was making desperate and unsubstantiated allegations. Here's our political editor, Gary Gibbon.
Ed Miliband tried to ensnare the Conservatives in the HSBC scandal today. He repeated new allegations that some donors to the Tory party had accounts with HSBC in Switzerland. The Labour leader said there was a revolving door between Tory HQ and HSBC.
He's up to his neck in this. Now let's take Stanley Fink, who gave £3 million to the Conservative Party. He actually appointed him as Treasurer of the Tory Party and gave him a peerage for good measure. So now can he explain what steps he's going to take to find out about the tax avoidance activities of Lord Fink?
Lord Fink immediately wrote to Ed Miliband saying the allegation of tax avoidance is untrue and defamatory. Repeat your allegation outside the Commons or withdraw it publicly. Misspelt, but then it probably was typed in haste and anger. Ed Miliband only saw the new allegations on the Guardian website barely 30 minutes before Prime Minister's questions. But in that time, he decided he would ratchet up the attacks on David Cameron to a new and very insulting level, implying that the Conservative Party and its leader were a bit corrupt.
He can't get away from it. He's a dodgy Prime Minister surrounded by dodgy donors. He's banged to rights, just like his donors.
Ed Miliband also accused the Prime Minister of turning a blind eye when he made the former head of HSBC, Lord Green, a minister.
He took the money. He gave a job to the head of HSBC and he lets the tax avoiders get away with it. There's something rotten at the heart of the Conservative Party, and it's him.
For 13 years, they sat in the Treasury. They did nothing about tax transparency, nothing about tax dodging, nothing about tax avoidance. This government has been tougher than any previous government. That's why they're desperate. That's why they're losing.
Like many of the others using the Swiss bank accounts, Lord Fink says he was just using it for salary and normal household expenses. Tonight, he spoke publicly about the Labour leader's attack.
So how angry are you with Ed Miliband? Would you be willing to pursue him in the courts?
Things he says in Parliament are sadly privileged, but it's called playing the man, not the ball, which I'm afraid has become a habit for him. But that's enough, thank you.
David Cameron's team said Ed Miliband looked desperate today, making unsubstantiated allegations proving he wasn't fit to hold the highest office. Ed Miliband's team hope what he's done is underline one of his central messages to the voters, that the Tories are the party for the super rich, but he's on the side of the rest of us. Gary Gibbon, Channel 4 News, Westminster.
Well, earlier I spoke to Lord Paul and I asked him for his reaction to hearing his name mentioned today by David Cameron in the House of Commons.
Everybody knows, the country knows, enough has been said. I have been supporting the Labour Party since 1990s or even earlier. But the last donation I gave to the Labour Party was in 2009 or 2008.
OK, but let's talk about your bank accounts. I mean, what was it about the secretive tax authorities of Switzerland that attracted you?
No, the tax authorities in Switzerland know that I had a bank account in HSBC. The British government knows that I have a bank account with HSBC. So I don't know what is the fuss about. You ask them.
Why did you have a bank account in Switzerland?
I have even a house in Switzerland, so I needed money to spend money in there.
That's the only reason why you have a bank account there, is it?
That's right.
Because the assumption, as you know, is that people have bank accounts in Switzerland because the money can disappear or used to be able to disappear in the old days when these accounts existed. I mean, you're saying this was really just for your spending money while you were in Geneva?
No, it's my money, what I have my account. I use it when I go to Switzerland. And if I go to Switzerland.
But you see the problem. You see why people are suspicious, don't you? Because Swiss bank accounts are associated with people who want to hide their money.
I know this thing, Krishnan, but that's history. Don't forget, there are more foreign banks in Switzerland. If somebody wants to hide the money, why would he go to the British bank?
What did you make of the way you were talked about in the House of Commons today, then? Because it wasn't just David Cameron who named you, was it? I mean, Ed Miliband then said, well, you know, I haven't taken donations from him, as if he would have been uncomfortable taking donations from you.
Look, I am, first of all, as far as the House of Commons are concerned, it is well known, and I have seen that with David Cameron when he became the leader of the opposition, that whenever he is in a hole, he has sound bites and not answer the question and bring at irrelevant issues. Now, as far as Ed Miliband is concerned, I left the Labour Party when he became the leader and when the government changed, because they were a new generation. I am very different from them, and I became an independent. So since 2008, neither the Labour Party has asked me money, nor I have paid them anything.
So you wouldn't support Ed Miliband even if he asked?
No, because I am an independent. And to be fair, poor Ed Miliband has never asked me, nor the party has asked me. They know that.
The steel magnate Swaraj Paul, and you can read more about the HSBC tax story and the latest revelations on our website, channel4.com/news.